What is Team Topologies? How can it be used to deliver value and operate technology simpler, more effectively, and in a more humane way? Find out in just a second. Welcome to Slope Reliability, the show where we learn about reliability, observability, and resilience one day at a time. I'm your host, Stephen Townsend. Welcome back to Slope Reliability. I'm Stephen Townsend, and this is the show about reliability, observability, and resilience. Today, I'm joined by Luke McManus. Luke is an agile coach with over 20 years of experience in tech and delivery roles. He's passionate about fostering collaboration and enabling business agility. He specializes in guiding teams and leaders to deliver exceptional products and services that delight customers. He's well-versed in agile and DevOps methodologies, emphasizing their connection to both customer and employee happiness, which is something I'm big on as well. In addition to his expertise in agile and DevOps, Luke is a proponent of design thinking and human-centered design methodologies. He enjoys leveraging innovative approaches like Lego Serious Play to facilitate creative problem solving. I have to ask you about that in a second. Luke's personal philosophy mirrors that of Team Topologies, making work more humane and effective for everyone. Outside of work, Luke enjoys spending time with his dog, Tuesday, exploring nature and cultivating native Australian plants. Welcome, Luke. How are you going?
What an intro. I'm great. How are you, Stephen?
Pretty good. I'm in the middle of my workday. It's just finished lunch. So whereabouts in Australia are you based?
I'm in, I was going to say sunny Melbourne. It's not so sunny today. It's pretty gloomy Melbourne today.
I've heard some of my teammates say it's pretty gloomy today. Yeah. And an important question. What is Lego Serious Play? I've never heard of that before.
Lego Serious Play is a methodology. It's a design thinking methodology. It can be used for all sorts of things, problem solving. It can be used for prototyping. It can be used for, all sorts of stuff like team launches. And one of the many facilitation techniques I've got in my facilitation bag. Yeah.
Can you do it remotely, or is it the kind of thing that has to be in person?
No, it's a hands-on technique. So, yeah. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't know if anyone's actually invented Lego Serious Play remote. I'm going to look that up. There's got to be some sort of a Miro-y kind of version you might be able to do. I suppose there is a definite scientific connection between hands-on craft and problem solving. In fact, when we talk about team interaction modeling, that's one of the reasons why I fell in love with team interaction modeling, because it is hands-on and very much like that.
So a couple of years ago, for those of you who've been listening for some time, episode 29, I did a book review, quite short, on a book called Team Topologies. And I was quite into it at the time. It's been a couple of years. I've forgotten most of the things I think from the book, apart from the 4 different team types. I think they were value-aligned, platform, complex subsystem, and enablement. Is that, hopefully I remember that correctly?
Almost. You got stream-aligned was the one, stream-aligned being value-aligned. Definitely. And then there's the 3 interaction modes. Do you remember those?
The 3 interaction modes. No, I can't.
That's right.
I could take a stab at the night, but I can't remember.
So there's collaborate, facilitate, and X as a service, which we can talk about.
I remember something about avoiding too much collaboration because the communication noise gets out of control, or something like that. But
yeah, the cost of collaboration. We often talk about, collaborate as a good thing. Definitely a good thing for human beings across borders and boundaries to work together. But the question is, why do we need to work together for more than a, finite period of time? And when teams need to work together, there comes a cost of coordination as well. So someone needs to release manage and stitch those pieces of code and releases together. So yeah, it's not always a great thing, collaboration.
It's interesting because so many people would say collaboration, that has to be a good thing. We need more collaboration. It's not a thing that would occur to most people that if there's too much collaboration for too much of a long period of time, maybe that's a sign that we haven't established a clear interaction model here or communication model.
Maybe our boundaries are not quite clear. So is it our technology boundaries? Is it our roles and responsibilities that aren't clear? Are we coupled because of the way that we release code? Could we do different things if we used version control or automation or CI/CD? Could we remove the reliance on another team by adopting something else? So the answer is not always in the interaction mode and the team type, but often it is.
So before we go any further, and I don't know how easy this is to answer, but for anyone out there who's never read the book, never heard anything about it, what is Team Topologies?
So Team Topologies is let's call it a framework to guide you on how to structure your teams and your team of teams, I suppose, because not many teams work in isolation. So your team of teams, how do you structure your team of teams for fast flow of value? So let's think about why teams exist. They should exist to be delivering value to either a customer or a genuine user need. So that's where we talk about stream alignment. So that's the idea of the stream aligned team. We work out what is the genuine user or customer need that this team is aligned to. And then some of the other teams exist to help support the stream aligned team to go fast and to deliver value continuously. Hopefully that answers the question.
I got into it about the same time as I started reading a whole bunch of books. Sooner, Safer, Happier was one of them, the DevOps Handbook, Phoenix Project, the Toyota Way. I got really into, I'm in an organization, I feel like there are better ways that we could structure, organize people to do things in more effective ways. And I'm interested in your bio. You talk about creating humane ways, to organize people and do work, because I've definitely seen situations in my past where the way that we set up an organization or our teams or the way we do work can cause angst and stress and pressure and cognitive overload more than anything else. I like that you said that. And for me, that's always been an implicit goal in a lot of what I'm trying to do in my work, is to find more humane ways to work. Am I alone in valuing that so highly and seeing that is a thing?
Not at all.
No, I'm not.
I mean, I think you almost just kind of just said or stole my story there, because I read all the same books as you. And probably very similar motivation for reading said books was I could see or I could sense that there was potentially a different or better way of doing things. And I could also see the impact on the human beings that were doing the things. And to be honest, I personally have experienced what it feels like to experience when your cognitive load is exceeded in the workplace, and the impact on your life and your health is not good. So that's kind of what drove me towards Team Topologies, and exactly that headline, more humane and more effective. We all have to go to work. We all have to work in teams. It shouldn't be shit. It should be fun. It should be good. It should be aligned to purpose. And yeah, what else did you say? You talked about the way teams are set up, the way teams are funded, the way teams are managed. There's lots of things that impact the way that teams operate that unfortunately have nothing to do with the teams either. So teams are pretty important to me.
Yeah. We connected because I had posted a question online about my team has grown to a size where it's too big to operate as just one team. How do I split it up? And someone recommended we have a chat, and you were generous enough to have a chat with me about how I might go about that. One thing I've been having other conversations today about a similar topic, and I've been thinking about this. The potential for someone who has to make a decision about a team to have a mental model and go, if I organize these people this way, it's going to work better. But then when you go to implement it, that it actually just doesn't work as the model or the prediction intended, because it's, people are we are a chaotic system and we can't predict how things are going to pan out. Have you got any advice on how do you make changes to teams in a way which is where you were able to validate that the hypotheses that you had, hypotheses probably, are having the desired effect?
I kind of think you almost answered your own question. So mental models and mantras, I'm big on those as well. One of the mental models and mantras I think that you need to adopt the Team Topologies mindset and framework is to be brave. And the second one is, you almost answered it by saying validating your own hypotheses. So an experimental / evolutionary mindset. What you write down and the design that you put on a piece of paper on day one, if you think that that's going to be the same on day 2 or day 10 or day anything, yeah, you probably should go and pay some consulting firm to give you a PowerPoint deck so you can blame them when it doesn't work. So be invested and actually involved in the change, owning the experiments, having a mindset that this is an experiment. The design is never going to be really finished until, I suppose, the customers don't want stuff anymore and the teams don't need to deliver stuff anymore and technology stops changing. So when those 3 things stop, the need for the teams to exist might, that's when you could probably talk about that. But that's what you need, I think, from a leadership perspective to really embrace team topologies.
I want to drill in a little bit to this idea of cognitive load. It's because it's important to me. It's a personal thing for me, right? But before that, I just wanted to make sure to anyone listening. So when we're talking about a streamlined team, it's a team. Those are the core. Majority of an organization would be ideally streamlined, right? They'd be the ones that are delivering value around some value stream.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, there's products, there's customers, there's users. So the way I think about products and other things is they're long-lived products with long-lived customers. Therefore, they should have some sort of long-lived team that services them, right? Potentially. We could talk about probably for an entire episode how funding impacts this equation, but we won't. So let's talk about the purpose of that team. That team's there to deliver value to customers continuously and safely. So how do you continuously and safely deliver value to customers with a small, self-contained, autonomous team? You work in a big enterprise. There's lots and lots of moving bits and pieces and lots of things that team needs to do and lots of capabilities that team needs to have, right? So there's another principle we should probably talk about really quickly, and that is Dunbar's number. It's around trust boundaries and the sizes of teams and how that impacts safety and flow. So ideally, your streamlined team should be 5 to 9 people. The old 2 pizza team idea from Amazon. And for 5 to 9 people to do all of those things that we just talked about, from idea through to production, and then hopefully build it and run it, that's a lot of things, right? So how do we get a group of 5 to 9 people to actually do all of those things? Sometimes this is where our interaction modes and other team types come into play. Sometimes we need to offload some of those, let's call them, unnecessary heavy lifting. So things that the teams need to do, but they might not need to specialize in. So they might need to spin up infrastructure a lot. But you know what? Their purpose is to be streamed aligned. So how could they interact with another team to spin up infrastructure? Maybe the first time they do it, they collaborate with another team. The platform team that provides these sorts of services might go, hey, these guys are asking for infrastructure every week, every day. Maybe we could provide that as a service. So that's when you start to introduce that interaction mode where one team provides something to another team via something like an API, so that it's very, very low cost of interaction and you can interact seamlessly almost with their API and spin up that infrastructure all the time by calling the platform team's infrastructure as a service, let's say. Complicated subsystem team could come into play when your team of teams, let's say your team of teams has some sort of really weird, algorithm that calculates something that requires some, pretty deep data science and other specialist knowledge. That's probably a little bit too much for the streamline team or too specialized for the streamline team. And that's where you could potentially offload some of that heavy lifting to a complicated subsystem team.
I was just trying to think of an example from, tell me if this sounds like a complicated subsystem team. In the world of insurance, you might have rating or pricing experts. There's a technology system, but there's also a lot of complexity around how that works and what their pricing rules are. You might have a complicated subsystem team to manage to do the heavy lifting on that.
Yeah, stuff that's algorithmic and complicated in nature that requires specialist knowledge.
Yeah. And then enabling team. And I've been in an enabling team before, I think, where there were a number of teams in our org who were building and operating services. And there was an opportunity for our team to come in and help uplift the way that they particularly uplift the observability of those platforms to help improve their reliability and all that good stuff. I think that was an enablement team. Does that sound like one to you? So we would basically go in for like 3 months and work with them and then move on to the next team and move to the next team.
A group of experts that work across borders and boundaries to introduce new things by facilitating and collaborating with other teams. And then, so there is a bit of an evolution in the interaction modes as well. So when something new and novel is identified, that's when you'd collaborate with another team and go, hey, we've got a new need. Let's do a thing. When something becomes a service or another team needs something, it's a little bit irresponsible for team one to just throw it over the fence and go, here you go. Here's the service, use it. So for a period of time, they'd probably facilitate that interaction and say, this is how the API works. You can, here's where the doco is. Let's work together to get a few calls right. Then at the end of week X, when everyone on the team's comfortable with the API and how it works, it's yours. So you now consume it as a service. So you can look at it from moving from collaborate to facilitate to then X as a service, which is a seamless interaction.
I'm just trying to think of things from my world. You might be a team who hosts a platform team who hosts a Kubernetes platform, which other Streamline teams host their apps and services on, and you provide as a service the ability for those teams to create their own namespaces and deploy their application or provision infrastructure and so on. And then their platform team would be treating those Streamline teams like customers. Is that the way you think about it?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm going to ask a sort of broad question, and however you want to answer it, it doesn't have to be about Team Topologies or anything. But one of the things I've seen and I've struggled with in my own career, maybe the most out of anything, is cognitive load. Just being unable to begin to hold and compute the complexity of the domain that I work in. Do you have any tips for an organization or team or an individual of how to reduce that cognitive load and still be effective and be able to do all the things that need to be done and solve all the problems that need to be solved?
Well, I suppose there's some pretty good wisdom from 20 plus years of experience that the Team Topologies authors have bottled. So aligning to some sort of purpose and value and staying aligned to that is pretty important, I think. I don't know. I've been a project person for a long time. So my job title and part of my job is to actually move across domains and boundaries and other things, right? So it's actually not great for your cognitive load when you have to think about all of those things, those people, and there's lots of things to remember. And especially when you're working on technology and code bases and other things, like if you have to bounce across business domain, like some of these business domains are pretty big and complicated. And if you have to know all of them and everything all the time, it's pretty full on. Yeah, using that knowledge from Team Topologies to align teams to some sort of purpose is a great start. I think some of the other reasons that these problems occur is, we talked about it already, is funding and shifting of priorities and other things based on funding envelopes and funding cycles, which are pretty futile. And then scale is probably the other one, is when things scale to the point where there's no agility left in what's been scaled. It's become a monolithic beast. The other book I'm really into at the moment is Unbundling the Enterprise.
Oh, cool. I'll put a link to that in the description.
Yep, another great book from IT Revolution. And the reason I'm into that is it talks a lot about unbundling of business capabilities and pulling those business capabilities out of those giant monolithic applications that we all work on and starting to think about those business capabilities as maybe that piece of value or that stream. And there's one way of thinking about aligning to something. Where do you start? There's a few different ways of where to start and what value means and what value is. And yeah, I suppose the other reason I'm really in love with this book is because of the methodology I've learnt, which is called value dynamics mapping. It's another great way of visualizing flows of value inside of digital business ecosystems. And we can probably do another episode about that as well.
We're getting near the end of the episode, but I still want to ask it is, when we think about taking a monolithic business or socio-technical system and adapting that for streamlined teams, it sounds like an extraordinary challenge to go from that to this, to go, how do I break up my business problem statement into manageable chunks, right? The technology answer would be like, oh, it's fine, just do microservices, it's fine. But like that's such a, it doesn't answer the question. It's like, well, you have to understand your own business so well to be able to break it up by the sounds of things. And it's hard thinking. It's that slow thinking. It takes time, I imagine. You can't just jump to conclusions.
Yes.
Have you seen success? Have you seen orgs go from absolute, full on everything tightly coupled monolith to decoupled, streamlined teams?
Yeah, there's a lot in that question. So,
sorry, I said a lot of things.
Yeah, you did. So distributed monoliths is the other anti-pattern when you just turn everything into a microservice. So you still got that problem where you've got coordination costs and all sorts of other interaction problems, right? Knowing your business and stepping back and thinking about, well, what are the capabilities that actually underpin our business? So that's why I love this value dynamics mapping idea. Is you look at two different parties or stakeholders inside of a system, and then you look at how they interact with each other.
Look, I know we've only really not even scratched the surface of this topic, but I think there's enough here that if someone is interested, that they could get inspired to, read the book, go online, read more about it. What I like about it is that I'm always looking for ways in which I kind of go back to the title of the other book, Sooner, Safer, Happier. How can we deliver value sooner, safer, happier, for everyone? And anything that helps us in that endeavor is worthy and something we should be looking to do. So, yeah. Thank you so much, Luke, for your time today. I really appreciate it. Hope you've enjoyed yourself. And to everyone else out there, I hope you have a wonderful week. And I'll see you next time.